Hi, I'm Christine Ellis from the Gig Harbor Toastmasters Club, and today we're going to talk about evaluations. Have you heard that public speaking is the #1 phobia? The National Social Anxiety Center says that the underlying fear about public speaking is actually a negative evaluation. Most managers also have an anxiety about providing evaluations to their employees. In fact, 1/3 of managers have a crippling fear of providing feedback. And the underlying reason in this case is hurting someone's feelings and the retribution and drama that comes afterward. So, what do we do about all of this? Because there's a lot of public speaking, evaluating, and getting evaluated at Toastmasters. I'd like to share with you 6 techniques to make evaluations a piece of cake. The first one is going to be the proper time and place. This is set for you at Toastmasters, so everyone's ready to be evaluated. You're expected to evaluate them. That is set and easy. Now, in the rest of the world, with your kids, your friends, coworkers, employees, you'll want to not publicly humiliate them, obviously. And so choose somewhere really private and a time that they are ready, that you both agreed upon, so you're not springing it on them unexpectedly, because that's not easy for anyone. Second is honesty. We put so much work into crafting our speech and coming to Toastmasters and putting ourselves out there. We come there to learn. We don't want to get whitewashed, which is a totally positive evaluation with nothing you could improve. It was perfect, beautiful, amazing. And sugarcoating. We don't come there to do that. We come there to learn. Sometimes that little nugget of truth is painful and hard to hear what we could do better, but that little piece is what's going to make you grow and thrive. Number 3 is sandwiching. Sandwiching is a method used across the board, all around the world. It's given at manager seminars and trainings. It's not just a Toastmaster thing. The idea behind sandwiching is to provide the person getting evaluated, the employee, the child, whoever it may be, authentic praise, authentic recognition, authentic validation, and they will be able to see through you if this is fake. So it has to be heartfelt and true and tactful. And you take that praise and the noticing the things they're doing right, and you wrap that around that hard nugget of truth in the middle, that golden nugget of what they could do better, what they can work on, what was missing, so that it kind of pads the bluntness of that just a little bit. And what we want to do with sandwiching is inspire them to come back again and give another speech. We want to inspire the employee to respect you and try even harder. We want to inspire the child also to respect you and try harder or try again. Number 4 is body language. Body language is all the nonverbals, how you tilt your head, how you stand, where you put your arms. It's the tone of your voice, it's your smile, it's your eyes and eyebrows, and kind of the tone when you're talking to someone that could be really relaxing and really encouraging. And that has to jive with what you're saying. So even if you try and say an authentic praise, but you're saying it angrily and crossing your arms and frowning and not smiling with a judgmental tone in your voice, it won't come across right. So make sure that you go over the top with encouragement surrounding this nugget of truth in the middle. Number 5 is tact. Tact is the ability to tell the truth while preserving the relationship and respecting the other person's feelings. Tact is culturally specific. What is considered tactful in one country is totally unacceptably rude in another country. So if you think you're being tactful, but the person keeps taking it wrong, it means you need to do a little research and see the miscommunication there. It'll be worth your time to do that. And I'm going to go over American tact. In America, we like to be very direct, get straight to the point, no beating around the bush, and we take ownership over what we're saying with I statements. So let's go over some of those I statements for you. Don't be nervous. That's assuming it may or may not be the truth, and we need to give objective truth, feedback. We need to take ownership of everything and not place the blame on them and the assumption on them. We don't want to give any feedback to them that they can argue as, well, that wasn't true. This goes for your kids, employees, and other speakers. So we want to take ownership. Instead of, don't be nervous, we might say, I noticed your hands shaking. I noticed you pacing back and forth. I noticed you were rocking. I noticed you were wringing your hands. And those are the things that people may not realize they're doing, and they appreciate hearing that back. And they can't argue with that. You noticed them wringing their hands. In their head, they can't form an argument against, I did not. It's the objective truth, and it won't hurt their feelings. It's just something you noticed. You need to. You should. Those are fighting words. What would be better is to politely say, I would recommend. Have you ever tried? A thing to consider might be. Those are way more polite ways than saying you need to or you should, because maybe they don't need to. Maybe they shouldn't. Maybe they're getting different information from someone else that contradicts with what you're saying. But if you say, I would recommend, that's the absolute truth. You would recommend it. And there's no way for them to say, no, you wouldn't. That's not a fighting word. It was boring. You are a slob. Those are opinions. Those aren't objective facts or truth. Now, in the case of boring, you want to reflect back what you felt. I felt myself relaxing a little bit too much. I felt my mind wandering several times, and I had to bring it back. I tripped over all your toys. Those are objective truths. Those aren't opinions. No one can argue against them, and they're not fighting words. They don't start an argument. You are so disorganized. Again, that's a fighting sentence. It's subjective. It's an opinion. However, you can say, I found myself lost. I became confused after the second part of the speech. I wasn't sure what the point was. Those are taking ownership of it, I statements. organize it better. It's unorganized. So that's kind of rude and fighting words again. A better option to say would be, I think the purpose would have been clearer if you, and then give them your opinion on what they could have done to make the purpose clearer. I had trouble hearing you. Taking ownership of it. I'm not telling you something's wrong with your voice. Also, something very important, I haven't seen this happen very often, but when you're giving an evaluation, don't say we. You're just yourself. If you're at work and there is a royal we, or there is a group of people and you're the one presenting on behalf of them, that is okay. But if it's a Toastmaster speech, it's not we, it's just I. You need to work on your gestures. So that's not very tactful. And listen to this. A better option for gestures might be to just relax your hands at your side. I challenge you to try that next time. You can do it. Practice and you'll be great. You guys, these are magical words that will work wonders not only when you're evaluating a speech at Toastmasters, but with your kids, with your in-laws, with your coworkers and employees. They're just magical. So really practice saying these I statements. Number 6 is performance standards. You can't evaluate someone against an invisible criteria list. If you're on the job, there is a very specific list that you get evaluated against. And this is a tough one at Toastmasters. Some clubs you're asked to evaluate and you have no idea how to evaluate someone. What's the criteria? What do I give them to work on? What could be better? I have no idea. And what we've done at our club is printed out all the universally pleasing and great ways to make speeches really memorable. And you will have that laminated sheet as a reviewer to look at, and as they're speaking, you can take notes on several of the topics to help put together your sandwich, to put together the positive things you were impressed with, things you noticed, and your favorite parts about it. So let's go through that list right now. The first thing is speech-specific requirements. Every speech has an objective, and the speaker has provided you as an evaluator with their objectives, whether it is making clear, easy to read slides in a slideshow, or maybe they're working on vocal variety, maybe they're working on gestures, humor, whatever it is they're working on, they'll provide you with that information ahead of time and the specific things they want you to look for in that speech. So check for those first. Here are some other things that all speeches would benefit from having. Was the hook at the beginning memorable? Did they even have a hook? Was the speech well organized, or did you get lost? You don't have to be an expert evaluator. You just have to be an English-speaking human to know if you could follow the point of the speech to the end of the speech and understand what the message was. What did they do so well that you are inspired to change and do in your own speeches? How did they use their hands, their face, and their body and walking to help relay their message? Did it add to the message, or was it distracting from the message? Did they incorporate a story during their speech to make it more memorable? Stories are great. Did they use interesting quotes or any other kind of supporting material? Did they have an interaction with the audience? Did they actually expect a response back, or was their interaction just rhetorical questions that they didn't even wait for the audience to react? Did their energy level go up and down? Did they use vocal variety to speed up when it was exciting and slow down when it was sad or heavy? What could they have done better to match that part of the speech and keep you alert and invested in their story? How did you feel during this speech? And us as speakers, we get so nervous and excited about what we're doing that we lose track of what the audience is doing. And even when we record it and watch it back, we're not watching it with the same eyes and the same feelings that you are. And what we really want to do is hear from you. How did it make you feel? So incorporate some of those sentences in your review. I felt motivated. I felt inspired. I felt confused. I felt conflicted. I felt like I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I felt like crying. So give them that feedback, because the speech is all about making the audience feel something, and we need to know what that is. As an evaluator, go ahead and check out the audience. See what they're doing. See if they're on their phones, if they're doodling. See if they're holding back tears. See if they're scared or smiling. And report that back and say, don't use we. We felt. You have no idea what they felt. You have no idea. But you did notice. And you can say, I noticed the audience fighting tears. I noticed everyone in this room riveted to you. Or I noticed a lot of people scratching their heads and confused looking. So report back what you noticed in the audience. Was the speech a delight to hear? And this is not the tone of voice. These are descriptive words. Did they incorporate some amazing metaphors? Did they use colorful vocabulary that just put mental images in your head and you felt like you were there? You felt like you could smell the smells. You felt like you were seeing the colors, and you were feeling, the fuzzy carpet or the crunchy grass. And keep track of the stuff they did great, or a spot that really could have used some extra descriptive words or metaphors. The goal as an evaluator is to inspire them to have the self-confidence to come back and give another speech. Let's talk about how to write your evaluation. When it's your turn to speak, you will print out an evaluation form from Pathways. These forms are different for every speech. It's going to have your objectives for your speech. Whatever you learned in your lesson is going to be on here. And you'll have to print this out and bring it on the day of your speech. And the evaluator will write your name here and your name as the speaker, as well as the title of your speech. They will then fill in the answers, specific answers to that speech. Let's look at the second page where we rate. This second page is different for each speech. It might have questions about the slides if it was a slideshow. It might have questions about your props if it was one where you brought in props. And the evaluator will rate it from 1 is the worst and 5 is the best. And they call it developing, emerging, accomplished, excels, and exemplary. And what you'll want to do is read through this ahead of time so you're familiar, so you can pay attention and watch whatever aspect this is during their speech, and go ahead and just circle that for them. And then they'll be able to keep track of how they're growing and how they're thriving and learning. As an evaluator, you will have your cheat sheet here, and you'll be just going through these questions and writing down little notes throughout the speech. Then you will have a speech evaluator worksheet. This is where You're writing your evaluation that you bring up to the front of the room and present. Now, evaluations are only 3 minutes long, which is super short, super short. That's like 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Most of the time, you're not going to be able to fit all the notes that you took onto this evaluation. We also want to make sure it's balanced. You never know. Maybe you'll come to the end of the speech notes and realize you have way more negatives than positives. And we don't want to reflect that onto their evaluation. We want to pick 2 or 3 things they can improve on, and then surround that with all the praise and all the recognition and validation of their accomplishments. Then use the tactful words, which are on the back side. If you can't think of any off the top of your head, there's a list of don'ts and there's a list of do's on the back side of the cheat sheet to help you take these notes about adding stories and using vocal variety and turn them into tactful statements. If you're not the official evaluator, if you're just a member in the room, you can also provide valuable feedback that is so cherished and appreciated by the speaker. You're going to have a blank form with a little tiny baby sandwich on it, and you can fill out what you liked, a suggestion for improvement, and the best part. Every time you speak at Toastmasters, you're going to go home with a big stack of notes of encouragement, of the nicest things people have ever said to you, how wonderful you're doing, their favorite thing about you, how they love your voice, all these fantastic things. And then the little nuggets of truth in there that you can work on. And it might be things you've never thought about before that are going to be key to your growing and developing as a speaker. As a speaker, when you get evaluated, remember that your evaluator is not a professionally trained evaluator. It's just another person just like you who is learning and growing and making mistakes, putting their foot in their mouth. So remember to have grace for your evaluators. Maintain eye contact with them during their evaluation. They're providing a service to you. It's actually really hard work to have those listening skills, to pay attention and keep notes and summarize it all into this sandwich method, and to go up there and present it out loud in front of everyone, adding all that work on top of the fear of hurting someone's feelings. So this person is doing a lot of work for you, and respect them, thank them for that. And if you do feel yourself getting upset, make sure to give yourself time, just like in any other misunderstanding in life. When you feel all angry or hurt, just give yourself a little time and see if you're overreacting, and maybe there is even a miscommunication there. One way to overcome this incredible fear of speaking, of evaluating, of getting evaluated, is to have as many positive experiences as possible. Just reinforce that over and over and over, and it will become second nature and so easy. And that's why I love Toastmasters. You get this opportunity quite often, and it is such a nurturing, helpful, friendly place to do something absolutely terrifying. So if you're afraid of putting your foot in your mouth, just remember that if you've never stepped on anyone's toes, you've never been for a walk. And as always, be brave enough to be bad at something new. See you at club. And as always, Okay, that's hilarious. And as always, never use the word always. Try not to use the word never or the word always.